Hey everyone, welcome to EZPZ English, the easiest way to build your English step by step. Today, I want to talk about something that sounds too good to be true. A lot of people wonder, can I learn English while I sleep? Is it possible to just play some English audio while I'm sleeping and wake up speaking better? I know it sounds like a dream because it is, but today we're going to look at the truth. Not just opinions, but what science says. And more importantly, we'll discover how you can use your sleep time to actually support your English learning in real and effective ways. You know, I've been teaching English for over 10 years now, and I've heard this question thousands of times. Students come to me with tired eyes, busy schedules, and they ask, "Teacher, isn't there a way to learn English without using my precious free time?" And I understand that feeling completely. We live in a busy world. Between work, family, social obligations, and trying to have some personal time, finding hours to study English can feel impossible. That's why the idea of sleep learning is so appealing. Imagine if you could use those 7 and 8 hours of sleep not just for rest, but also for improvement. It would be like having a secret superpower. But before we dive into the science and the practical methods, I want you to get comfortable. Maybe even lie down. Adjust your pillow. Take a deep breath. Because this journey we're about to take together isn't just about learning facts. It's about changing the way you think about language learning itself. So let's dive in, slowly and peacefully.
Part 1. Is it really possible to learn while you sleep?
We've all seen those videos before. They say, listen to this while you sleep and learn 1,000 English words. Or, play this for 8 hours and become fluent. It sounds amazing, right? But let's slow down and ask the real question, does it actually work? Here's what we know. When you're in deep sleep, your brain isn't listening the same way it does when you're awake. You're not focusing. You're not thinking. You're not practicing. So your brain can't really understand or learn completely new information. But that doesn't mean sleep has no role in learning. Actually, sleep plays a very special role, just not the one you might expect. You see, when we sleep, our brain goes into a kind of maintenance mode. It cleans up, organizes memories, and stores what we learned during the day. Think of it like a librarian at night. She doesn't get new books, but she organizes the ones you read earlier. So if you studied vocabulary or listened to English before bed, your brain might store it more deeply, like saving a file in a hard drive. That's real. That's proven. Sleep is like a quiet workshop where your brain sorts through everything you experience during the day. It decides what's important to keep and what can be forgotten. This process is called memory consolidation, and it's one of the most important things that happens while you sleep. Imagine your brain as a busy office during the day. Papers everywhere, people talking, phones ringing. But at night, when everyone goes home, a special cleaning crew comes in. They organize the papers, file them properly, and prepare everything for the next day. That's exactly what happens in your brain during sleep. The cleaning crew sorts through all the English words, phrases, and grammar patterns you encountered. The important ones get filed away in long-term memory. The less important ones get cleaned out to make room for new learning. Now, here's something fascinating that most people don't know. Your brain actually has different types of sleep, and each type helps with learning in different ways. There's light sleep, where you're still somewhat aware of your surroundings. There's deep sleep, where your body does most of its physical recovery. And there's REM sleep, where you dream and your brain processes emotions and memories. Each of these sleep stages plays a different role in helping you remember what you learned during the day. Light sleep helps with basic memory storage. Deep sleep strengthens those memories and makes them more permanent. REM sleep helps you make connections between new information and things you already know. So, when you study English before bed, you're giving your brain material to work with during all these different sleep stages. It's like providing ingredients for a slow cooking recipe that takes all night to prepare. But here's the key point I want you to remember. Your sleeping brain is incredibly good at organizing and strengthening information you've already encountered. But it's not very good at learning completely new information from scratch. It's like the difference between organizing a library that already has books in it versus trying to write new books while the library is closed and dark. That's why those learn 1,000 words while sleeping claims don't really work. Your brain needs to see those words while you're awake first. Then, and only then, can your sleeping brain help make those memories stronger and more permanent. Think about it this way. If you've never seen the word elephant before, hearing it while you sleep won't teach you what it means. But if you learned that elephant means a large gray animal with a trunk during the day, then hearing that word again while you sleep might help you remember it better tomorrow. This is why preparation is so important. The better you prepare your brain before sleep, the more your sleeping brain can help you. And that leads us to our next section, where we'll look at what scientific research actually tells us about sleep and language learning.
Part 2. What science says about sleep and language learning.
There have been real scientific studies on this. Let's look at what they say in simple words. One study from the University of South Australia used a made-up language. People learned new words before going to sleep. When they woke up, the ones who had deep sleep remembered the words much better than those who stayed awake. Their brains had stored the learning while they were asleep, not learned new words, but remembered the ones they had studied. Other studies also show something interesting. When people listened to words they already studied, but listened to them again while sleeping, their brains reacted. The memory became stronger. That's called targeted memory reactivation. It's like reminding your brain what matters while it rests. It's important to remember that people didn't learn new words during sleep. They only remembered better the words they already saw or heard while they were awake. So the truth is, yes, sleep can help your brain keep what you already learned. But no, it won't magically teach you a new language overnight. Let me tell you about another fascinating study from Northwestern University. Researchers had people learn to play simple melodies on a piano. Then, while the participants slept, the researchers played some of those melodies very softly. When people woke up, they could play the melodies that were played during sleep much better than the ones that weren't played. Their brain had been practicing even while they were unconscious. This shows us something powerful about the sleeping brain. It's not completely switched off. It's still processing, still working, still learning, just in a different way. But here's the key. The brain was only working with information it had already received while awake. Sleep didn't create new knowledge. It strengthened existing knowledge. For English learners, this means that if you listen to a conversation or study some vocabulary before bed, your sleeping brain will work on those same words and phrases throughout the night. It's like having a personal tutor working with you while you sleep, but this tutor can only help you with lessons you've already started. Now, let me share some more research that might surprise you. A study published in the journal Current Biology found that people who napped after learning new words were better at recognizing those words later, compared to people who stayed awake. But here's the interesting part, it wasn't just any nap that helped. The people who benefited most were those who entered slow-wave sleep during their nap. That's the deepest, most restorative stage of sleep. During slow-wave sleep, your brain waves become very slow and synchronized. It's almost like your entire brain is breathing together, slowly and deeply. And during this synchronized breathing, memories get transferred from temporary storage to permanent storage. Another study from Germany showed that people who slept after learning English vocabulary remembered 60% more words than people who stayed awake for the same amount of time. 60%. That's more than half again as much learning just from sleeping. But the researchers also found something else important. The quality of sleep mattered more than the quantity. People who had deeper, more restful sleep showed better memory improvement than people who slept for a long time but had poor quality sleep. This tells us that if you want to use sleep to help your English learning, you need to focus not just on sleeping, but on sleeping well. What does sleeping well mean? It means going to bed at a regular time, avoiding caffeine and screens before bed, keeping your bedroom cool and dark, and creating a peaceful environment for sleep. When you sleep well, your brain can do its job of organizing and strengthening your English memories more effectively. There is also research about something called sleep spindles. These are brief bursts of brain activity that happen during light sleep. People who have more sleep spindles tend to be better at learning and remembering new information. Interestingly, some studies suggest that certain types of gentle sound or music during sleep might increase the number of sleep spindles. This could potentially make your sleep more beneficial for learning. But remember, we're talking about very gentle, subtle sounds, not loud language lessons or aggressive teaching audio. Here's something else that really amazed me when I dug deeper into the science. In a 2019 study from the University of Bern in Switzerland, researchers discovered that the brain is capable of forming new associations during slow-wave sleep. That's the deepest stage of sleep. Participants were played word pairs like house and dom while they were asleep. Amazingly, when they woke up, many of them could remember and recognize the connection between those words, even though they had never consciously studied them. But again, this only worked with very simple associations, and the effect was much weaker than learning while awake. So what does this mean for us, English learners? It means that playing English audio during sleep, especially content that reinforces what you've already learned, might help your brain retain it more easily. Your brain is organizing and strengthening memory pathways while you're asleep. So if it hears something it recognizes even faintly, it might store it more deeply. Now, does this mean you'll wake up fluent just by sleeping with English podcasts on? Of course not. But think of it like this. Your waking study time is like planting seeds. and your sleep is like quietly watering them overnight. The more carefully you plant during the day, the more your nighttime watering will help those seeds grow.
Part 3. How to actually use sleep to boost your English.
So, how can you use this information? Well, the best way is to prepare your brain before bed. What you do in the last 30 minutes before sleeping can really affect how well you remember it the next day. For example, imagine you read 5 new words in English and repeat them to yourself gently. Then, while falling asleep, you listen to a slow, clear voice repeating those same words or phrases. You're not trying to memorize. You're just creating a calm environment with familiar sounds. Then you sleep. And during sleep, your brain processes that information again. You might not remember everything, but the next day, those words may feel just a little more familiar. If you do this every day, review a little before sleep, and repeat calmly, you start building a system. Your brain learns to recognize patterns. You're not learning in your sleep, but you are supporting your learning with your sleep. Also, don't forget sleep is not just extra time to study. It's part of the learning process. If you don't get enough sleep, it's harder to focus, harder to speak clearly, and harder to remember anything. So, improving your English might actually start with something simple: going to bed a little earlier. Let me give you a step-by-step method that I've developed over years of experimenting with sleep learning. I call it the 3-layer method. Layer 1: active preparation. 30 minutes before bed. This is when you actively study English, but not intense, stressful studying. Gentle, relaxed studying. Maybe you read a short story in English or listen to a conversation between native speakers or review some vocabulary cards. The key is to choose material that's slightly below your current level. You want to understand at least 80% of what you're studying. This isn't the time to challenge yourself with difficult grammar or complex vocabulary. Think of this as preparing your brain's ingredients for the night's work. Layer 2: passive transition 15 minutes before bed. This is when you start transitioning from active learning to passive exposure. Put away your books and notebooks. Dim the lights. Play the same content you just studied, but this time, just listen. Don't try to understand every word. Don't take notes. Just let the English wash over you like gentle waves. You might find yourself starting to feel sleepy during this phase. That's perfect. Layer 3: sleep immersion during sleep. This is when you play English content very softly while you sleep. But here's the crucial part. It should be the same content you studied in Layer 1 and listened to in Layer 2. Your sleeping brain will recognize these familiar sounds and continue working with them throughout the night. Now, let me give you some specific examples of how this might work with different types of English content. Example 1: learning new vocabulary. Layer 1 study. 10 new words with flashcards. Read each word aloud, look at example sentences, and try to use each word in your own sentence. Layer 2: listen to audio recordings of these same 10 words being pronounced naturally in sentences. Close your eyes and just listen, without trying to memorize. Layer 3: play a loop of these same sentences softly while you sleep. Example 2. Improving listening skills. Layer 1. Watch a 5-minute conversation between native English speakers. Watch it 2-3 times until you understand most of what they're saying. Layer 2. Listen to the same conversation again, but this time with closed eyes. Focus on the rhythm and melody of the English rather than individual words. Layer 3. Play this same conversation on a quiet loop while you sleep. Example 3. Working on pronunciation. Layer 1. Practice shadowing. Listen to a native speaker. And try to repeat everything they say, copying their pronunciation as closely as possible. Layer 2. Listen to the same audio again, but this time just move your mouth silently along with the words without making sound. Layer 3. Play this audio softly while you sleep, letting the pronunciation patterns soak into your subconscious. The beauty of this 3-layer method is that each layer builds on the previous one. By the time you're sleeping, your brain already has multiple exposures to the same content. So it's much more prepared to work with that information during sleep. But let me give you some important warnings about what not to do. Don't use content that's too difficult. If you can't understand at least 70% of the material while awake, it's too hard for sleep learning. Don't make the audio too loud. It should be just barely audible, like background noise in a quiet cafe. Don't expect immediate results. Sleep learning is like planting a garden. You won't see dramatic changes overnight, but after weeks or months of consistent practice, you'll notice significant improvement. Don't rely only on sleep learning. This is a supplement to your regular English study, not a replacement for it. And don't use content that's emotionally stimulating or exciting. Action movies, dramatic stories, or intense conversations can actually disturb your sleep rather than help it. Instead, choose content that's calm, gentle, and soothing. Think of bedtime stories, peaceful conversations, or guided meditations in English.
Part 4. Creating your personal sleep learning system.
Let me share what I personally do, because I think routines matter. Each night I choose a podcast or audio I'm already familiar with, maybe a story or a conversation between native speakers. I set the volume to a comfortable, low level, just enough to hear, but not enough to disturb my sleep. Then I let it play on a loop. It's almost like a bedtime lullaby, but for language learning. Sometimes I'll wake up and find that I was dreaming in English. And that's the best part, because dreams reflect the language your brain is processing most intensely. Researchers at MIT found that people who were exposed to foreign language phrases during specific sleep stages were able to recall and pronounce those phrases better the next day. That shows a real link between sleep, memory consolidation, and language retention. Now, let me give you a little trick. If you want to boost your learning even more, try combining sleep listening with active shadowing during the day. Shadowing means you listen and repeat after native speakers out loud as closely as you can. Do this for 15 minutes during the day, then replay that same content while you sleep. It's like reinforcing a pathway twice, once consciously, once subconsciously. Also, don't just play random English sounds. Be intentional. Choose content that's slightly above your current level, but not too hard. It should be interesting and natural. Think of it like feeding your brain a soft, nutritious meal instead of fast food. Some of my favorite types of sleep listening content are natural conversations between friends, audio from beginner or intermediate level English podcasts, slow spoken English stories, affirmations in English with relaxing music, guided meditations in English. And remember, this is not about perfection. It's about consistency. The more you expose yourself to English, even passively, the more familiar and friendly it becomes. It's kind of like moving to a new country. At first, everything is strange. But after a few months, even the street sounds and background voices become part of your world. That's the effect we want to create: total immersion, even while you sleep. Here's another practical tip: start small. Don't try to sleep with English audio for 8 hours on your first night. Begin with just 30 minutes, then gradually increase the time as you get comfortable. Your brain needs time to adjust to processing language during sleep. Be patient with yourself. Also, pay attention to how you feel when you wake up. If you're more tired than usual, the volume might be too loud, or the content might be too stimulating. Adjust accordingly. The goal is to wake up feeling rested and refreshed, with English feeling just a little more natural than the day before. Now, let me talk about something that many people overlook: the importance of choosing the right type of English accent for your sleep learning. If you're learning American English, consistently use American English content for your sleep sessions. If you're focusing on British English, stick with British accents. This consistency helps your brain develop a clear internal model of how English should sound. Mixing different accents during sleep learning can actually confuse your brain, because it's trying to consolidate pronunciation patterns while you're unconscious. Also, consider the gender of the speakers you choose. Some research suggests that people may process male and female voices differently during sleep. Try experimenting with both male and female narrators to see which feels more comfortable and effective for you. Here's something else I've discovered through personal experimentation: the power of creating themed sleep learning cycles.
Week 1. Focus on basic conversational phrases.
Every night, listen to simple greetings, introductions, and everyday expressions.
Week 2. Focus on describing things.
Listen to audio that describes objects, people, places, and experiences.
Week 3. Focus on expressing emotions and opinions.
Listen to content where people share their feelings and thoughts about various topics.
Week 4. Focus on storytelling.
Listen to simple stories, whether fiction or personal anecdotes. Then repeat the cycle, but with slightly more advanced content each time. This themed approach helps your brain build systematic patterns rather than trying to process random English content every night. Let me also share a technique I call sleep shadowing. This is something you can do if you wake up in the middle of the night and hear the English audio playing. Instead of getting frustrated or turning it off, try silently moving your mouth along with the words you hear. Don't make any sound. Just let your mouth and tongue practice the shapes of English sounds while you're in that drowsy, relaxed state between sleep and waking. This half-conscious practice can be incredibly effective because your brain is relaxed and not overthinking the pronunciation. You're just letting your mouth muscles learn the natural flow of English speech. Many of my students have reported that this technique has dramatically improved their pronunciation and speaking fluency.
Part 5. Advanced Techniques and Troubleshooting.
Now, I know some people are skeptical about all this, and that's fair. But here's what I say: try it. Just try it for 7 nights. Pick content you enjoy. Set it to play softly as you sleep, and see how your brain reacts. You might be surprised at how much smoother your listening becomes, or how suddenly a phrase just clicks the next morning. But let me warn you about some common mistakes people make with sleep learning. First mistake: expecting miracles overnight. Sleep learning is not magic. It's a gradual process that supports your active learning. Don't expect to wake up speaking perfect English after one night. Second mistake: using content that's too difficult. If you can't understand at least 70% of the content while awake, it's probably too hard for sleep learning. Your sleeping brain needs familiar material to work with. Third mistake: playing the audio too loud. The goal is gentle background exposure, not conscious listening. If the audio wakes you up or disturbs your sleep, it's defeating the purpose. Fourth mistake: not being consistent. Sleep learning works best when done regularly. Doing it once or twice won't show much result. But doing it every night for a month? That's when you'll start to notice the difference. Fifth mistake: relying only on sleep learning. Remember, this is a supplement to your regular English study, not a replacement. You still need to actively practice speaking, reading, and writing during your waking hours. And one more thing: don't stress if you fall asleep quickly and don't hear anything consciously. That's actually the goal. Let English blend into your subconscious. Let it become part of the background of your dreams, your thoughts, and eventually, your speech. Here are some advanced techniques for those who want to take their sleep learning to the next level. Technique 1: binaural sleep learning. Some people find that using headphones or earbuds with slightly different audio in each ear can enhance the sleep learning effect. You might play the same content in both ears, but with one ear slightly softer than the other. This can create a more immersive experience. Technique 2: progressive content cycling. Instead of playing the same content all night, try programming your audio to gradually change throughout your sleep cycle. Start with content you know very well, then gradually introduce slightly more challenging material as the night progresses. Technique 3: dream journaling in English. Keep a notebook by your bed and try to write down any dreams you remember in English, even if your English isn't perfect. This helps bridge the gap between your sleeping and waking English processing. Technique 4: wake up word association. As soon as you wake up, before getting out of bed, try to think of 5 English words that come to mind. Don't force it. Just notice what English words naturally surface in your consciousness. This can help you track how English is integrating into your subconscious mind. If you find that sleep learning isn't working for you, here are some troubleshooting steps. Problem: you feel more tired after sleep learning sessions. Solution: lower the volume or try gentler content. Your sleep quality is more important than language exposure. Problem: you don't notice any improvement after several weeks. Solution: make sure you're also studying the same content while awake. Sleep learning only works with familiar material. Problem: the audio keeps waking you up. Solution: use a timer to play audio only during the first 2 and 3 hours of sleep, when you're less likely to be disturbed. Problem: you feel like it's not real learning. Solution: remember that sleep learning is about strengthening memories, not creating new ones. The real learning happens when you're awake.
Part 6. Your sleep learning journey and future success.
Language learning isn't a sprint, it's a lifestyle. And with sleep, we're just letting our brains do what they do best: work quietly behind the scenes. So tonight, as you get ready for bed, remember your pillow isn't just for sleep, it's also a language lab. Let me leave you with a simple 30-day challenge. For the next month, try this routine. Days 1 to 7. Choose one English podcast episode or story that you understand well. Listen to it once while awake, then play it softly while you sleep. Days 8-14. Review any new words or phrases from the previous week's content. Add one new piece of content to your rotation. Days 15-21. Continue building your library of familiar content. By now, you should have 2 to 3 different audio pieces you rotate between. Days 22-30. Start experimenting with slightly more challenging content, but always make sure you understand it well while awake first. At the end of the month, notice how you feel about English. Does it sound more familiar? Do certain phrases come to mind more easily? Are you dreaming in English more often? These small changes are signs that your brain is integrating English more deeply into your natural thought patterns. Remember, every expert was once a beginner. Every fluent speaker once struggled with basic words. But they all had one thing in common: they found ways to surround themselves with the language, even during rest. Your journey to English fluency doesn't have to stop when you close your eyes. In fact, some of your most important learning might happen while you're fast asleep. Here's my final piece of advice: be patient with yourself, but also be consistent. Sleep learning isn't about dramatic overnight transformations. It's about gentle, steady progress that accumulates over time. Think of it like water slowly shaping a stone. Each night of sleep learning is like one drop of water. One drop doesn't change the stone, but thousands of drops over months and years can carve beautiful patterns and shapes. Your English ability is like that stone, and your consistent sleep learning practice is like those patient drops of water. Sweet dreams and sweet English. Thank you for listening to EZPZ English. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest sleep learning content. And remember, every night is a new opportunity to let your brain work its quiet magic with English. Good night, and see you in your English dreams.